we don't think of this as philanthropy. Tenants are paying us rent and we are making improvements. Yes, we are being good human beings and doing the right thing, but I don't want to put us too high on a pedestal to say that this isn't philanthropy, right? We expect people to pay. And that's why I say I can't help every individual tenant, because if they're not going to be able to pay their rent, I'm going to be able to guide them to an organization that might be able to help them. But ultimately, I'm not going to be there to pay that rent for them. And that's why I'm saying it's not philanthropy. And we're not helping every single individual. We're helping the community. So some people want to say in their brain, I do my good work over here, which is philanthropy, and I do my investing over here, which is about me and money. And there is not an interlink between. And that's okay. That's not my job to say that you're right or wrong when you say that, right? It happens to be just this amazing opportunity to do good things and make money. But again, some people just want that return. That's where we leave it.
Good morning, and great morning, guys. Welcome to another fabulous episode of Exit Strategies Radio Show. Hey, I'm your host, Corwyn J, Melette, broker and owner of Exit Realty, Low Country Group in beautiful North Charleston, South Carolina. Hey, if this is your first time listening to this show, you, sir or ma'am, are in for a treat, because our mission is very simple. That is to empower our community through financial literacy and real estate education, guys. We're legacy building. That's what we do. So super excited for today's show. Quick shout out to those who we love and those who love us. Elder and Pastor Evans, my mama out there in Monkey's Corner, y'all to listen to us in Muddy Mullins, and always my folks out there in Hollywood, what you know, no good. Thank you so much for tuning in. We really appreciate it. So I'm super stoked about today's someone who works in the real estate space, but more importantly is really and truly making a difference. So for you listeners, I want to pose this question. How do you turn a distressed property into a legacy build opportunity? Our guest today has delivered over 37% returns doing just that. So I want you guys to tune in, because you're going to get a tremendous amount of information from us today. So today I am very honored to have with us none other than Miss Amy Rubenstein. She is the CEO. That means she the boss of Clear Investment Group. And she is a commercial real estate practitioner with over 2 decades of experience in this space, with over a half, and I'm gonna put the B on, I ain't gonna leave it in the millions, we're gonna move it up to the B, over $500 million track record, and more importantly, a passion for revitalizing workforce housing across America. Amy, how are you doing today?
I am great. Thank you for that lovely introduction. It's really nice to be here with you.
Well, thank you. Thank you so much. And thank you for taking time out of your busy schedule to be with us here on the show. So I did mine. What's yours? Give our listeners that high level overview of who you are and what you do.
Sure. So I have been working in the real estate world for about 23 years, and I have always been focused on multifamily properties, so apartment buildings, with a strong focus, and right now a singular focus, of distressed workforce housing or low-income housing or affordable housing in words. And so we are around the country. We do have a company that is based out of Chicago, and we like to find properties that are having some troubles, usually from a management standpoint. And we like to stabilize them, better the communities, bring back the communities to where they should have been before. And eventually then we do sell our properties.
So as an item of note, Amy, affordable housing, as I tell people all the time, is my jam. All right. Look here, if I was in a band or was a rock star, that would be the song I would be singing. I'd be laying the crowd out. So I'm super excited to have this conversation with you. So I'm gonna pose this question to you. For you in this space, how one can it, but also how do you help close that affordability gap, leveraging this type of product, workforce and affordable housing?
As far as like, how do we envision it? How do we see?
How do you envision and how do you see this type of product and what you guys are doing addressing the affordability issue or the affordability gap that exists in real estate for us today?
Yeah, there is absolutely a shortage of affordable housing. And one of the reasons that it exists is because without government subsidies, because we don't do government subsidized housing. So we're not like LIHTC or we're not Section 8 housing. We're just
Mhm.
naturally affordable housing. And there's a shortage of it because when we are buying and selling our properties, we are buying far below the cost of replacement and we are selling below the cost of replacement. And so therefore, it's hard for someone else to come in and compete in that world when they're building something new, right?
Mhm.
Because as you get a shortage of affordable housing as more and more people need it, but also as some affordable housing gets more and more distressed. And now what it becomes is affordable housing that's substandard. And that's where we're trying to close the gap is there are properties that can be affordable housing in a safe and habitable way, but a lot of these properties are not being taken care of the right way, or the tenants aren't being treated the right way, or there is some disconnect into how they should function in a productive society to provide something that is good both for the owner of the property and for the tenants themselves. And so we step in to try to fill the gap by finding housing that exists already. We're not building anything new, but it's not providing what we think it should be providing. Again, safe, habitable housing that people can feel proud to live in. That we find properties that should be providing that aren't providing that, and then try to get them back to what they should have been.
So essentially, it's a value add for your group. What you guys do, you there's something that is lacking, is missing. You come and add that, adding value to it, therefore increasing its overall value, getting it closer to or to its full potential is what you guys are doing.
Yeah, I mean, we actually like to call it value restoration as opposed to value add. And I know I'm being a little cute with this, but the reason that we say that is because we're not trying to change the asset class because we don't want to price people out of it. So we're not coming in and saying we're going to add a brand new gym and we're going to put in granite countertops and we're going to make these, units fancier. We don't want to do that. We want to take the product that was supposed to have been there in existence before that now is fallen apart for certain reasons, bring it
Mhm.
back to the market, stabilized, but not over improve it so that it prices people out. And so that's why we call it value restoration. But I know I'm just being a little cute there.
No, no, no. That is the perfect definition. That's not so I didn't take it as being cute, if you will. I took it as that's actually what it is because fundamentally in real estate, we have this conversation about a property has a certain potential, has potential. Is also what it is, and is it at its full potential? So you guys are restoring the property's potential. I really love that concept. So why do these types of properties, distressed properties, such as what we're talking about, offer unique opportunities in the current climate and the current market?
Yeah. A lot of people buy properties based on the income that's coming in today and
Mhm.
looking forward. What can they do? How can they improve it? But that is very limiting when you're looking at properties just based on what the income is today, even looking at the potential. For us, when we're looking at a property, often the properties we buy are negative cash flowing. Tenants maybe aren't paying their rent for right or wrong reasons, and we can get into that later if you want. The occupancy is very low. So there are reasons as to why this property is negative cash flowing. For us, that doesn't scare us away. That's not a qualification that we have as to whether or not to buy property. We are looking towards what does this property look like at stabilization. Once we have market occupancy, once we have market collections, how is this property cash flowing then? And that number that we're going for. And we're not afraid of the work that it takes to get from where it is today to that stabilization point. And I think that's where opportunity lies, is if you're not afraid to get in and do that heavy lifting and do that hard work. And if you're aligned with your customer base. So for us, I feel like we're in alignment with our tenants because they want affordable housing. We want to provide affordable housing. We are not trying to kick people out to raise up rents. And that's what allows us to be successful. We are aligned with our tenants.
So I'm gonna give you a term, and my precursor it may be a little cute, right? But what you just said, and this is a perfect segue into this, you guys have an approach, if you will, that really focuses on ethical redevelopment. So if you could elaborate on that piece, because you made mention about being in alignment with the base. So you guys really approach it from what I'm hearing, and please articulate from the consumer side more so from the investor side.
Yes, I will say, first and foremost, we are a for-profit company. Don't
Mhm.
want to make us sound overly altruistic, but the reason that I love what we do and the reason I love coming to work every day and the reason that it's so easy for me to motivate our team is because we do really great things. We really improve communities and we make things better, and we don't have to sacrifice the returns that we give to our investors. And that puts us in the luckiest position. And I strongly believe that the way to create sustainable impact in communities or in the world, if we can take it that far, is by not sacrificing profit to investors and also continuing to do good things. That is sustainable impact, where you're not relying or depending on someone who doesn't have skin in the game or someone who's just giving only to be altruistic. Because this way, everybody gets to win.
Let's take a short break.
You found the perfect property. You got the vision. Now you need the capital. At Melefund Capital, we specialize in funding real estate deals for investors who want to build, flip, or hold and don't have the time to chase after banks. Whether it's new construction, a fix and flip, or long-term rental, we offer simple terms, fast approvals, and access to private capital. We even work with manufactured housing projects because we know what it takes to build value from the ground up. Simple. You bring the deal, we bring the money. Visit melefundcapital.com or call 843-619-7038 to get pre-qualified today. Melefund Capital, we fund what you build. So what you just made, and then to give the point in a moment ago, was because what you're defining, I have a term written on my board, impact investing. You can probably have heard this before, but impact invest, I have it written up on my board as a reminder. So I'm going to actually add this to my board as a reminder of why we do this. So essentially, you've managed to accumulate and cultivate a relationship with people who are like-minded, were willing to invest and with you or work with you all to carry out this mission. Is that correct?
Sure, I don't call us, we are impact investors,
Okay.
100%. When I'm pitching to investors, I'm usually not saying that unless I know that that's something that they are also appreciative of. We're going to be impact investors whether they want it or not, but not everybody, some people care quite a bit about it, some people don't. So it's not something we lead with. We just happen to be impact investors. It makes us happy, and anyone else who it makes happy, we're happy to share that information that we are impact investors. And for people that don't really care, it doesn't matter. We're going to do it anyways, right? I think that people sometimes, investors sometimes hear impact investing and think we're sacrificing. And that's what we want to avoid. Just want to be good people and do the right thing and make our investors money. But the truth is, you can do it. Not every path is as lucky as our path, where it's so aligned, or we really don't feel like we have to sacrifice. So I feel like we're a lucky company to be able to work to be able to both make those profits and make an impact. And when I say impact investing, I also want to say we are trying to impact the greater community as opposed to every single individual in the building. It is nearly impossible for us to be able to help every individual tenant, but we can help the community of tenants as a whole. Our community, our complex, right? So we have to think about what is going to benefit this apartment complex, as opposed to how does each and every tenant in that building get a positive impact? We're saying, how does this community as a whole have a positive impact?
I like that.
I
So
say that because we don't have the capacity to solve every tenant's problems, because a lot of their problems we're not capable of solving. And so we're only able to solve the things that we as a company are capable of solving, which is a little bit more community-based than individual-based.
that makes sense. So essentially, you're not able to address all life ills, but you can overall positive impact the residents as a whole that you guys house. So that's awesome. And thank you for that clarification and those final points as well, Amy, because we want people to really understand this. But you've obviously your group is very fortunate not only have a mission, if you will, that is noble, but also to have people that are willing to be a part of that or otherwise assist, however that looks. Like you said, that's what you guys are going to do. So, how are you guys managing? Obviously, this particular arena, this particular space is still influenced heavily by market trends, what's going on in the market, et cetera. How do you guys navigate that? What does that look like for you? What particular things do you really analyze to help you assess whether or not it's time for you to pause and slow on acquisitions or to accelerate or whatever that need to look like for you?
So we are looking for distressed deals that can exist in every market. You can find distressed deals in the hot market. You can find distressed deals in the bottom market. I happen to think that we are in more of a buyer's market than a seller's market right now. I think we're towards the bottom. I don't know if we're at the very bottom, if we already popped off of the bottom, if we're still heading down. I'm not exactly sure. It's hard to tell when you're in it, but I am saying we're in the bottom area. There are lots of deals when you're in the bottom, but there's plenty of deals when you're in the top too, because you're looking for something. We are looking for something that is distressed independent of the market, of macroeconomics. So we're looking for, it could be that this property is hurting because of interest rates. It could be that the property is hurting because of any government changes. Those things could be possible, but those aren't the sole reasons why this property is hurting. The property that we buy is hurting for multiple reasons, and that might have been something that kind of tipped it over the edge. But this kind of distress that we're looking for happens everywhere. So how do we know when to buy something? Is we're looking for enough area of improvement where we actually are needed, where our skills of turning a property around is going to be useful. So there has to be enough of a delta between how it's performing now and how we think it can perform. And then we have to have a seller who needs us as a buyer.
So, for lack of a better way to put it, we're still playing matchmaker. We're
Mhm.
still finding the person who, okay, look, you're my way out, so to speak. And in turn, that still provides you guys an opportunity going in. So I'm trying to find another word to replace investing, right? So with this type of platform, I'm gonna use that word till I can think of something better of being really community focused and making a difference and changing the community for the better. Where do you see the true impact, not only for the community, so that's one, but also for someone, so that's the front end. That's what you guys are doing. What do you see for the tenants, the residents, your communities? What do you see happen with them? Give us an example. And then on the back end of that, for the people who partner with you, work with you to fund these type of endeavors, what is the benefit for them for generational wealth and creation and wealth building?
Yeah.
That's a lot.
That's okay. We'll take it step by step, and I'll probably take us off track and you'll get me back on track. So for our tenants, most of the time when we come into a property, there's been a severe lack of communication between the owner and the tenants. For on whatever side it is. I mean, I don't even care whose fault it is. It's like whatever it is, there's miscommunication and people are not getting what they need. So for the tenant side, it's usually something like tenants aren't paying rent because their toilet hasn't been fixed in 6 months, or the pool hasn't been filled since in the last 2 years, or nobody's ever in the office, so they don't know who to pay their rent to, or the property's been deteriorating from a crime standpoint. So when we're coming into a property, part of our due diligence is figuring out what are these tenants missing and what do they need, and can we provide what they need to get them back to paying rent and to then fill up the occupancy. And so we're asking the tenants constantly. And there are things that we can and can't help out with. The things that we can help with are things like we can get your toilet fixed again, and we can fix that pool again so it works. And we can reduce crime on the property if the crime is coming from the property. We can't fix the outer community. We're going to only fix our individual community, right? So if crime is coming out in from all over the neighborhood, where we might not be able to help. But if crime is coming from our property, we're going to help. We're going to fix that. So that's the kind of stuff that we're providing back to tenants. What we're not going to be able to fix is a tenant saying, well, we think that our rent should be slashed in half, or we think that we should have all these new amenities, or we want if they're looking for a different asset class or a different type, like we're not going to be able to come in and really make everything a brand new building because we have to keep it affordable, right? Certain things we can and can't do, and that's what we can provide for the tenant and the community. And for our investors, again, some people, you get a lot of family offices or individual investors that really do care about their investments making an impact in the world and that also want good returns. And so for those people, we're able to provide that outlet of putting your money in a place where you can feel good about the difference that you're making and you can have returns. And for some people, that really matters. And again, like I said, for other people, maybe they're philanthropic in their own ways. And I don't want this to be construed as what we do as philanthropy. We don't think of this as philanthropy. Tenants are paying us rent and we are making improvements. Yes, we are being good human beings and doing the right thing, but I don't want to put us too high on a pedestal to say that this isn't philanthropy, right? We expect people to pay. And that's why I say I can't help every individual tenant because if they're not going to be able to pay their rent, I'm going to be able to guide them to an organization that might be able to help them. But ultimately, I'm not going to be there to pay that rent for them. And that's why I'm saying it's not philanthropy and we're not helping every single individual. We're helping the community. So some people want to say in their brain, I do my good work over here, which is philanthropy, and I do my investing over here, which is about me and money. And there is not an interlink between. And that's okay. That's not my job to say that you're right or wrong when you say that, right? It happens to be just this amazing opportunity to do good things and make money. But again, some people just want that return. That's where we leave it.
So a focus of ours here is legacy. What do we leave behind for the next generation? That generational wealth is obviously a part of it, but wealth is beyond money. You got to leave what you guys are talking about, which is just being good human beings, human becoming. One of our company leaders talks about human potential, and instead of using the being, we're becoming. We're always becoming should be becoming a better version of ourselves, or better people. So, Amy, I'm gonna ask you this question: what does legacy mean to you as a woman leading an institutional level investment company in underserved communities? That's heavy, ain't it?
Yeah, it is. I mean, the first thing I think about is our staff. We come into lower income areas and we're hiring locally in those areas. And we're often hiring people that in a very entry level position. And nothing makes me happier than watching the people that we hire grow into higher and higher positions. Doesn't always work. I wish it always worked. It doesn't always work, but sometimes it works so beautifully where you can watch someone come in knowing very little about real estate, coming in and being, an assistant, an administrative assistant or a leasing assistant or something like that, and then growing into be a leasing agent, growing into be an assistant property manager, growing into be a property manager, and then growing into be a regional manager beyond that. And that makes me so excited when it happens. I want us to get better and better at fostering that so that it happens more and more often. So something that we strive for, that to me is a legacy, is leaving, because that would be changing the trajectory of individual lives there. That's something I aim for on the staff side. On the tenant side, look, these are people's homes. This is where children are being raised, and those children are going to grow up to be adults. I focus on children because that's where I feel like the biggest impact is always made. It's when you can help a kid's life be a little bit more stable. And when we first walk some of these properties that we take over, and I see like kids living with mold in their units or carpet that has like nails coming up, or there's just like substandard living that just shouldn't exist for kids. Like, we just want like basic. That's why I always say that our basic goal is safe and habitable. And it seems like that's such a simple thing, but not everyone's getting safe and habitable housing. And so that is just being able to provide that to kids, I think is going to be a piece of legacy, because those kids now grow up to be adults and they have a different appreciation of things because they didn't have to struggle in a certain way. Nobody should have cockroaches running through their apartments. They just shouldn't. They just didn't have to live like that. And so if I can come in and help that and make that better, and I don't want to do Band-Aid fixes. I don't want to come in and just pretend like we're doing something that's not really going to make a difference. No, if we have a cockroach problem, let's solve this cockroach problem right now. If we have a mouse problem or a rat problem, let's solve that problem. And it's not always easy to solve those problems, but let's get it done the right way So to me, those are small things, but I see that as a legacy of trying to just make lives a little bit easier for people so then they have a better platform to jump off of.
That's very fair. So, Amy, we're quickly getting towards the end of the show. So I want to do a couple things. One, I want you to put your information out here on air so that way people can reach out with questions, get in contact with you, etc. So if you would do that, that would be amazing. How could people
Yeah.
reach you?
Yeah. Our website is clearinvestgroup.com and it has all sorts of ways to get in touch with us and more about what we do and how we do it.
All right. And the next thing is a takeaway for people who are looking to quote unquote do well and do good. What advice or what would you suggest they take away from today's episode to help them to do that?
I would say if it's specific in real estate, or maybe it's in all sorts of forms of investment, but I think if you have a clear vision of where you want things to go and you stick to that end goal, a lot of times little things will come in the way and pull you aside from it. And even if they're worthy things, you're not going to get to that end goal if those little things aren't directly helping you go there. And I think it comes back a little bit more to when I say we can help the community, but not necessarily every individual, because sometimes things will drag you down. I tell my team this all the time. We are coming into a property that has 1,000 problems. And if you deal with the 50 over here, you might never get this property to be any better. And if you deal with the 50 over there, you might not get this property any better. And those are all worthy problems. And all those things might be solved, but you're not getting the property to actually get to a better place. So you can't fix everything better. Where are you trying to get to? And what are the biggest ticket items to get you there and not allow some of the other distractions to let you veer off course? And that is hard because you want to do everything right, but you won't get to the finish line. So I guess that's my biggest takeaway.
Thank you. Cause I need to hear that because I literally just was having that conversation about those distractions, the things that will pop up and you give attention to and it hinders you from the overall goal. So thank you so much, Amy, for reinforcing that for me on today. So we quickly made our way here to the end of the show, and I hate to let you go, but I want to say, first of all, thank you for taking time to be with us today. You provided a wealth of knowledge and insight into this particular space. And I want to say thank you for taking time to be here with us today.
Thank you for having me. It's been a pleasure.
You're welcome. So for our listeners, guys, look, I want to encourage you all that have this in your heart, in your spirit, otherwise in your plan to do. Take a look, explore, deep dive into community focused or community first investment opportunities. If this is your beast, if this is your animal, quote unquote, if this is your jam. If you have a question about legacy building, about investing, legacy investing, if you will, please submit those questions to us here at the show. For future episodes, we'd love to address and not only answer your questions, but hopefully inspire someone else with the answers that we give and that we deliver. So again, Amy, I want to thank you for taking time out today to be on with us. I greatly appreciate it from the bottom of my heart. Thank you for being a part of Exit Strategies Radio Show family. For our listeners, y'all know how I feel. Y'all know what I say. Y'all know I always put the two of those things together, and I say it to you this way, which is to tell you that I love you. I love you. I love you. And we're going to see you guys out there in those streets.